Here's some improvisational tips on the song Guantanamera. And some things I like to think about are, what are the chords involved in this song? Because that tells you what kind of notes you can use. The chords are F, A, C, C, E, G, B flat, D, F, and G, B flat, D. Now that may or may not make sense to you, but what you can do on this song is, like, the first chord is G minor, which is the G, B flat, D, and then the C chord, then the F chord, then the B flat chord, and so on and so forth. So if you want to just outline the chords on those, that's a great way to improv. We'll talk more about that in a second. But you can use the chord tones, and you could just play those, or you could just play the F scale. In this particular song, all these scales, or the F scale, can be used over all these chords for one reason or another. But you could just play the F scale, not just the scale itself, but I'll show you in a minute how you can embellish on the scale. And you can also use the scale. You can also just play with the melody a little bit. Change the melody, change the rhythm of the melody, and it'll make it sound better. You can also use embellishments, what we call turns and harmonies, and you can also use repetition. So here's a couple examples. Now this is the F scale, starting here on the F. And I'll just keep going up. So I can use the F scale, or I can use different patterns on the F scale, like I can repeat notes. And I changed the rhythm a little bit, and I also repeated a couple notes. Or I can use what's called a turn. A turn is when you do like this E right here, or I'm going to start on the F. I'll go F to G, and then to E. Back to F. When you do it fast, it sounds really cool. Another one of my favorite turns is to do this. F to G to F to E. Only I'm doing it downstairs now. I like to use that. I kind of use the scale. I did a little turn. And I did a little scale. I'm just doing the F scale. Another one would be to use harmony. I'm going to play the chord tones. Here's the FAC chord tone, remember we talked about. Here's a chord tone on G, B flat, and D. How about C, E, and G? C, E, G. Remember, mine is a D pan. It's slightly different. And then I can also use, I can just use part of the melody. Now, I did a little harmonization there with the A. Here's the melody part. I used the F and A. And I used the D and B flat, C and A, B flat and D. That sort of helps fill it out a little bit. Here's some ideas. I'm just going to start the song. Has a little bit of an introduction here with the F and B flat and C. We're going to outline chords, C, E, G. So now we'll start the melody again here, and you'll see how I'm going to outline the notes a little bit. F, scale, repetition, repetition, chord tone, C, G, F, A, C, B flat, C, E, G. Just outlining those. Now I'm going to do an F scale. Did a little repetition there. Melody with harmony. Repetition. Do a little embellishment. All on the F scale though. Here's that turn. I did the turn and the scale. To do a scale with a little bit of repetition. Here's the turn. Outline chords. F, A, C, B flat, D, F, C, E, G, G minor. So this is the solo section. outline chords. Now, that particular technique is one of my favorites, where you play one note, and I like to use the C in this case, the C, and you just play the scale, but you keep coming back to the C. Here it is slow. Go down the scale. Faster, it sounds like this. It looks and sounds really hard and impressive, but if you keep your hands low, whoops, you keep your hands low and play that scale like that, it'll sound really impressive. Use these kinds of things, scales, melody. Let them hear the melody now and then so they remember what song you're playing. Embellishments, the turns, harmonies. Use lots of repetition. It's a very good tool. People don't really realize what it is. But they know that they like it. Chord tones. And remember, the F scale works over this entire piece. You can play anything in the F scale. Make sure you stay in that little box. You can play repetition, do your little turns, do harmony, practice it a lot.